Welcome to the worst of the best podcast. You wanted the best. Well, they didn't freaking make it! So here's what you get. From Canada, Ryan and
Jason. Welcome to another episode of the Worst of the Best podcast. If you're watching this if you're listening to this, of course, on your podcast apps, you'll see we have a new thumbnail. Jason, what do you think of that new thumbnail that everyone gets a look at now? It's live. It's available on all our socials.
Yeah, I like it, Ryan. It's very fresh. I like the simplicity of it, the minimalistic approach, and it really does pop.
Yeah, it's a better thumbnail than one we had before. It has our little byline there. It says, "For every cloud, there's a silver lining." It's in our thumbnail picture. I like it. So everyone take a look at it. Give me the thumbs up. Rate and review us on your favorite apps, or give us a comment even on our YouTube page if you want, because we'll read those comments as well. If you want to do that instead of an email, it might be easier for people to do that. Okay. All right. I'm excited for this episode, Jay, because we're talking something close to our hearts, which is, of course, is music. And you and I have been a fan of rock music and iconic vocalists throughout our lifetime. So what we've done, Jason and I, dear listeners, is we've gone on the internet, of course, and there's tons of top lists. There's countless top lists of the best bands, best vocalists, or for whatever reason. So this one was a tricky list to put together, but we said this name was on that list more times than not. This name was on that list more times than not. And so we're not saying that these are the greatest singers to ever exist. However, I think the 20 vocalists that we're going to talk about are definitely, there wouldn't be one name on here. I can imagine anyone would hear any of these names at least from the bands that they were in, or the names themselves, where people are like, oh, who? If you are that, I would be curious to hear back from you as to who you thought you've never heard of before, whether it's the band or the artist. So that's how that list was put together. Of course, there's many vocalists that didn't make the list. And if you think we missed somebody, let us know in an email, or again on the YouTube comment section. Let us know who we missed and why. But again, I think these names represent what the most of the public would know. So a lot of these singers are definitely in the rock genre. There's no R&B singers here, so there's no Celine Dion, no Whitney Houston, or Mariah Carey. That's not what this list is about. These are iconic rock vocalists in that rock genre, okay? So over the passage of decades, the landscape of rock music has undergone dynamic transformations, yet one constant remains undeniable. The genre boasts a plethora of extraordinary vocalists. So rock music has been a breeding ground for some of the most remarkable voices in the realm of music. That can't be denied at all. So today, everyone, embark on this episode's journey as we discuss rock's most iconic vocalists. Feel free, listeners, to immerse yourself in this episode by turning up the volume on classic hits that we're going to talk about as you delve into the rich tapestry of these musical legends that we will present to you now. Number one, now again, this is not an order of best to worst to best. This is a strictly random order. I assure you it is random. So it's not like the last singer is going to be the best or the first one's the best. But however, this is a big name. It's Robert Plant. Robert Plant was the charismatic frontman of Led Zeppelin. Robert Plant's vocal prowess redefines the term iconic, with signature wails that resonate in classics like Whole Lotta Love and the soulful Going to California. Plant's voice is indelible mark on the annals of rock history. Robert Plant, of course, is still alive, which is crazy in some ways. Jay, when you and I were in our youth, we definitely delved into their greatest hits, or at least the Led Zeppelin 4 album. That was the big one. That was their their hugest album. Of course, we owned it on CD, I believe, and listened to that one quite a bit. Yeah. What's your thoughts on Led Zeppelin as a band?
As I've gotten older, I like them more and more.
Yeah.
I appreciate, and Robert Plant's vocals are completely iconic, impressive, and unique, and was required for that band to be as big as they were. I can't imagine some of those songs really working with other vocalists.
He's incredible frontman. Remember
and live,
the Pac jeans? The Pac jeans? Did he wear the Pac jeans?
Oh yeah. And live is really where you get to appreciate. I think many of these singers. There's one thing to listen to their music on an album, But to witness their abilities to perform live is where you can really gain an appreciation for what it is that they do. And his presence on stage was awesome. And speaking of awesome, and not just in a studio setting, but live as well, it's Freddie Mercury. He's the ultimate showman and vocal virtuoso. Universally acclaimed as the greatest showman in rock, Freddie Mercury's vocal brilliance transcends genres. His dynamic range and emotional depth, evident in timeless classics, secure his place as one of the greatest vocalists in the entire musical spectrum.
If you're listening to this for the first time, our show, what we do is we curate or put together a list of whatever that list is, what the subject of the episode is. And then we say what we think is the worst from that best. So even whatever singer we pick independent of each other at the end of this list doesn't mean they're a bad singer. Just they're going up against guys like Freddie Mercury, guys. So this is what I'm saying. Freddie Mercury is the god of vocals. And there's no list that he'd ever be the worst on. But we got to put him on here because he's the best. So Freddie Mercury, yeah. Like you're talking about with Robert Plant, showman, artist, his music videos, his outfits, his big goofy grin and smile, and just his, I don't know, man, it's insane. There will never be another one like him. There's
a reason, and it wasn't just because of AIDS, but also because of the person he was, that there was a Freddie Mercury tribute concert. Yeah, that's the power of his impact in the musical industry.
Yeah, good point. A lot of singers have died. There might be a couple on this list that are obviously have passed away. And there weren't tribute concerts necessary, not of that scale. Wembley Stadium. Yeah.
With the biggest of the biggest doing his music.
Yeah, everyone from like Elton John to Axl Rose to George Michael. All these people were just, it's like everyone. That was anyone. Metallica, tribute to Freddie Mercury. Yeah. Incredible artist, loved. I'm glad we got to know him in our lifetime, in our youth as a kid. I will never forget it. Radio Gaga was the first song I ever
did. Every time I hear that song, I think of that little white with the red door cassette player.
Yeah.
And we had that K-Tel tape, and that we would listen to. There was a variety of songs. It was a mixed tape of some sort. But Radio Gaga was on that, and absolutely loved hearing that.
It's funny. On. I would rather listen to Radio Gaga than the Bohemian. There's something about that song. Yeah. I never get tired of it.
No, I know. Me as well.
Yeah. All right. The lovely, and she's still around, Stevie Nicks, of course, the chanting voice of Fleetwood Mac. Whether enchanting audiences with Fleetwood Mac or as a solo artist, Stevie Nicks commands attention with one of rock's most distinctive voices. Her unique vibrato and vulnerable style breathe life into classics like Silver Springs and Dreams. Yeah, they have some incredible songs, but a very interesting band and huge history. One of these bands have been through like a lot of member changes. They were a very different sound in their early years to their later years. Incredible songs, incredible guitar work. Very interesting. Again, Fleetwood Mac's named after the drummer's last name is Mac, I believe is what it is. It's very odd. He's the Mick Fleetwood. That's right. It's Mick Fleetwood, I believe, is the name of the drummer. He's been there since the beginning. I don't know why, but anyways, yeah, an incredible artist in her own right. She has that gothy type look that she started and made that popular with their dresses, and she has that almost like when I say goth, it's like. Is there magic?
Yeah. You think about the fantasy novel look.
Like female empowerment for sure, I think, as well with her.
Think of the dynamics. You're a mainstay in a rock band, and it's a male-dominant industry. Rock. We're talking about rock. And it may be an interesting dynamic. I don't know anything of it, if that's true or not, if she felt any of that, or being surrounded by men. And any band is dynamic. Any band, there's going to be push and pull and drama. So adding the female in that dynamic.
So my understanding is she was, I don't know if she was married to Lindsey Buckingham, the lead guitarist.
That band has a very... interesting history.
I've seen some of the live performances, which I'd recommend on YouTube, but how it's weird. Like Lindsay and Stevie are broken up, and they're like, I would say hate's the right word, because I don't think the hate's strong, but they are like exes, and they're singing at each other. There's like talking about the heartbreak in their songs and stuff, and they're doing it at each other on stage. It's fascinating
Yes, that's what I mean. I knew that there's a lot of kind of intricacies within the band.
Yeah.
To be a lead singer, to be as powerful as she is, but also to work within the band, there's got to be a lot of
Yeah, it's very
drama.
interesting. A lot of history. There's a documentary on the band that I think I really got to just watch it. I think it's on Netflix or something. Okay. Jay, you got the next one.
Okay. Ann Wilson, arguably possessing one of the most powerful voices in rock. Ann Wilson's soaring soprano adds a dramatic, almost operatic dimension to Heart's catalog. Tracks like Magic Man and Crazy on You stand as testaments to her vocal prowess. Now, this is a band that I know peripherally. I don't know well, but when and I know actually most of it from seeing them do, like, comes through your YouTube algorithms,
right?
And you'll see a performance come through. There's a performance of them doing, speaking of Led Zeppelin, there was that famous Led Zeppelin. You probably know the one. And their Ann Wilson's vocals is phenomenal. It's not something that I personally would throw into my CD player on my playlist, on my jukebox of 100 CDs. It's not a disc I would put in, but
you probably know more Heart than you think. I think that's one of those bands where like, yeah, that's on. Oh yeah, that's on. Oh yeah,
yes. Yeah, I know that. I guess what I'm saying is it's not something that I would throw in myself, but when I do hear it, I can very much appreciate the vocal talent and the strength there.
Yeah, a great sister duo. Nancy, of course, was married to Cameron Crowe for quite some time. I don't know if you've ever seen some pictures of Nancy Wilson, and she's still an attractive older lady but in her youth or glory days or in her 30s and 40s, she was an incredibly gorgeous woman. Like Cameron Crowe is an ugly guy. Like I'm sorry, he's funny looking. Okay, funny looking. He's not a Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt. This guy scores Nancy Wilson. Have you seen her? Have you like legit seen that?
Yes, I have. Yes. Yeah.
And she's the guitarist, of course, for Heart, and they're sisters. And it's really a cool story of how they formed themselves. And they were another, like Stevie Nicks, speaking of two very powerful vocalists in their own rights, different styles of singing, different styles of music. But Stevie Nicks joined the band later in their career, and kind of with her joining the band, we were talking about Freddie Mercury and Robert Plant, but it's interesting, both Stevie and Heart was not the girls. I could be wrong, but I believe they joined later too. I think they might have been formed and the girls joined. I could be wrong. But I feel like both these bands became, I think, more popular because they had the female vocalists. We often talk about male vocalists for sure, and there's a lot of male vocalists on this list, but the female vocalists, especially back in the day, it's really cool to see how popular they were back then. And we forget that these are huge artists. Now,
I'm not sure if it's because the musical landscape has changed over the years, where it's now, it seems like the 60s, 70s and 80s allowed for there to be more female vocalists within the rock genre, whereas today they seem to lean more towards the pop and R&B side of music. And I'm not sure if it's just because there's just more of that today, rather rock music doesn't have the same. You know what I'm saying? Like today there's less of, just because the musical landscape has changed.
Yeah.
So I don't know of really any more modern female lead singers in a rock genre today. Most of them are still holdovers from years gone past. I wouldn't be surprised to hear Fleetwood Mac today with the Stevie Nicks or Heart but I don't know of any newer rock bands with female singers. That just might be my ignorance too, but I just
they're out there, but there's something special about these early artists for sure.
Yeah.
Before we get into emails or comments on our YouTube channel, sorry, my bad. I was conflating Stevie Nicks. Yes, she did join the band. I think she joined the band, Jason, like their 10th album. They had already released back in the 70s. Like it was like deep in their career. And when she joined, that's when they became huge, like even bigger. Of course, that's when a lot of the fans divided. You have the pre-Stevie fans, and because both Stevie and Buckingham Lindsay, they both joined, I think, together on the same album. And that's really the band changed. This is clear day. So that's what I mean. There's almost two versions of Fleetwood Mac. Sorry, Dreamboat Annie was the first album by Heart in 1975. It was actually recorded in Vancouver. So my apologies. They were always the two gals were Heart. I should have known that. They have looks like 16 odd studio albums this year. Yeah, 16 studio albums. That's not too shabby.
Did it show when their last album was?
2016, 7 years ago. They actually broke up. They just reunited.
Yeah.
Which is odd. They're sisters, and I don't know. I get it, sure. But at the same time, it's just weird to have all those years together at the end of your life. Come on, guys. But yeah. So they're back together. I think, again, they're on tour. That might be one worth going to be honest with you. Legacy act for sure. Okay. Good stuff. Good list so far. Number 5, boy, oh boy, Mick Jagger. You ever hear of this guy? Still doing it. 80 years old.
They're going to be on tour this coming summer.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I remember this.
And they're coming to Vancouver.
Yeah, good luck getting a ticket. He might. I just don't know what the price would be. Like,
I'm on their I've seen them and a couple years ago. Yeah. And for some reason, I got an email giving me a pre-sale. Maybe it's because I saw them already. I don't know why I'm on this list, but I got an email saying that I'll have early access. So I'm going to just check out, see what the costs are.
Sure, for sure. Well, if you get to see it, might as well. This may be the last time. Come on.
I thought the last time was going to be the last time, so it was a shock that I was able to do that. And it was a gift, actually, a birthday gift. And so I was very surprised at that opportunity and very grateful. And amazing. Yeah, you talk about them. Go ahead.
Oh, no, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Bylines that we're going to read, but this is more of a discussion episode than just.
Yeah.
I don't have any history with them.
Truly amazing. Truly amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I don't have any history of them, other than, of course, they've been around my whole life, and I'm very familiar with them. They're another band where I know at least 20 of their songs. I'm sure if I went to the concert, I would know every song they played. It's one of those bands. You've Devil to Painted Black to older hits, Jumpin' Jack Flash, and my favorite song,
Sympathy with the Devil.
Sympathy with the Devil, Give Me Shelter. I love that song. When he gets that proper female vocalist to sing with him, it's amazing. Great stuff. Great band. 80 years old. Mick Jagger still doing it with Keith Richards. And it's just funny because I remember when we were teens, so 30 years ago, they were making fun of their age back then.
Yeah. Okay, so
50. So it's
when I was younger, we all knew who they were and were familiar with their bigger songs, but I didn't really get it. I didn't gravitate towards them. Then about 10 years, 12, 13 years ago, I saw a performance of them on a live performance of way back when.
Right.
And then all of a sudden I was like, saw Mick Jagger looking into the camera and it clicked on me. I was like, I get it. There was a switch in my brain where I was like, I see it. Where I never had really noticed it before, like that it factor of the band, the it factor of stardom of Mick Jagger. And I was like, wow, I just got drawn in. And then I went and said, I'm going to listen to all their music. And I downloaded on the music streaming apps their whole catalog. And I was addicted to listening to them for like 6 months straight almost.
Oh, wow.
Because I was just like playing catch up. Their whole catalog and and now I'm a very big fan. I absolutely love their music, where it's weird. I never caught that bug before. And so, it felt like I was in jail for 30 years and came out and found this amazing band that I had not really known, even though I did know. And so that was a great musical journey and experiencing them that way. And so when there was that tour that I was able to go see, it was a big deal because I was like, okay, I've seen basically all the bands I've ever wanted to see. That was like maybe a band that would be left off the bucket list of seeing. And so being able to see that and see them live and now fully having appreciated their catalog was great.
The latest album came out in 2023, just this year.
I don't know, a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, if you can believe it's already been a couple months. September 6th, 2023.
Okay. Oh, wow. Time's flying.
Yeah. However, I don't know if you saw the reviews. It's a highly reviewed album. It's near perfect score across aggregate review scores.
Check it out. It's great.
Side note here, you got Bill Wyman plays bass guitar on one of the songs. It's cool.
Oh, that's nice.
He plays bass on "Live by the Sword," track 8, and of course he was the bassist from 62 to 93, so the original during those early years at the very least. So that's great that he was. Stevie Wonder plays keyboards on "Sweet Sounds of Heaven." 2 of the tracks still have Charlie Watts doing the drums as on "Mess It Up" and "Live by the Sword" as well.
I wonder if "Live by the Sword" is an old song, old recording. Right. I can't envision Bill Wyman coming in playing a one-off in the studio.
Oh, you think it's like maybe they re-recorded the vocals and stuff?
Yeah, they just, here's a song that we've had in the background.
Okay, and they had it recorded, but they might have polished it up. Okay, yeah, that's fair. Oh, I see. But then you've got Paul McCartney, plays bass guitar and "Bite My Head Off." That's Paul playing. We'll speak about him later. We got Lady Gaga, of course, doing this vocals on "Sweet Sounds of Heaven." Yeah, you probably. Elton John plays piano on "Get Close" and "Live by the Sword." I gotta listen to the song "Live by the Sword" now because there seems to be a lot of guests on that one. Yeah, it's cool. I'll definitely give it a listen. I heard their single. The single was quite fun, and it's just so weird to listen to the single and like these guys are so old, but it doesn't. I know it doesn't matter, but it's impressive and crazy at the same time. They're older than our parents doing this music. It's weird. So, regardless of personal preferences, Mick Jagger's distinctive voice paired with his unparalleled stage presence solidifies his status as, of course, one of rock's greatest showmen. So, this keep in mind, guys. We're saying vocalists. We're like, well, yeah, but what about vocal range and octave levels? Yes, that's part, but you have to understand that rock and roll is so much showmanship. And if you don't have that charisma and sexuality and all that stuff that these singers can ooze on stage, Mick Jagger has made a career out of moving his hips with a little shirt open. And that's just what they do. And you have to be able to have that, Mick Jagger swagger. There was a song made about that for a reason. You have to have that swagger. That's what makes you a star.
Yeah, I call it the it factor. Because people try to imitate these things.
No, you can't fake
it. But they can't.
No, it's a natural thing.
No matter how hard they try to be like, it's like that meme where you go, like, what you think you look like and what you actually look like. There's that difference. Is people who think that they can imitate a Mick Jagger and that's going to work for them. If you just don't have that it factor, maybe it's the selling of the soul to the devil that gives you that it factor. I don't know, but there's something different. And it's more than just the pure talent of it.
No, great stuff. I agree.
Yeah. So going on to talent, Chris Cornell. We all know him from Soundgarden, Audio Slave, his own personal
solo stuff. Yeah.
Solo stuff. But he has that great vocal range, 4-octave vocal range, parallel power tracks. Like we all know tracks like Black Hole Sun that have that example of his musical talent. Now, interesting enough, full disclosure, I was never a huge fan of Chris Cornell. I like some of his slower stuff, more probably his personal solo stuff, where it's a more, not all of it, but I guess I've seen like times when he's live with an acoustic guitar. I appreciate that stuff more than what he did within the bands when it was just more stripped down. But I also can appreciate how amazingly talented he is.
I've followed the same path as you. And of course, we were teenagers when Soundgarden was at their biggest. They came with their first album, May 88. And the Super Unknown album, which was their 4th album, was their biggest album, I believe, came out in 94. We knew of them. But I was more of a fan with their side project with Temple of the Dog they did with Pearl Jam. And with Audio Slave, I think Audio Slave for me, that's where it had that perfect mixture of Tom Morello's guitar, well, the Rage guys, with basically it was the Rage Against the Machine guys, with Chris Cornell as the singer. I love that kind of super band. They did 3 albums, but their debut album in 2002 of Audio Slave was just an amazing album. Chris is one of those singers for me too. I agree with you. I'm not a big fan of the music that he's produced per se, because some of the songs, other than the Audio Slave and Temple of the Dog, were really great for me. I thought Temple of the Dog is probably, for me,
that's my favorite.
Dog, yeah, that's Chris Cornell at his best. I think peak singing, and he is an incredible singer. When you listen to it, like, oh man, this guy can sing. But I wasn't a big fan of Soundgarden's music, and because I think it was the bassist that bugged me. I don't know the way his stage presence. Anyways, but that being said, it doesn't matter. But I never had anything against Chris Cornell. He just happened to associate with the music stylings I wasn't crazy about, but undeniable vocal talent, and he seemed like a very nice guy. He never had any scandals. people loved him, and his death was heartbreaking to a lot of people because he seemed to be one of those guys where he died at the age of 52. That's not very old.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously,
Conspiracy theory
way
on
too
that
young.
one, I think.
I know.
Conspiracy. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Wasn't he investigating pedophilia rings or something? Am I misremembering him and the Lincoln Park guy? Is that weird that they both? It's weird. Okay. All right. So we'll say that for another episode, maybe. Okay. So the next on the list is John Lennon. Teaming up with McCartney, John Lennon contributed to some of rock's best harmonies. Evident classics from, of course, Eleanor Rigby and I'll Follow the Sun. The Beatles, what else? Let's share some information about the Beatles that has never been said before. But I think John does belong on this list. His solo work might have been a little bit left to desired. He did some interesting stuff for sure. Of course, his work with the Beatles, I think the harmony is the key part here. Him and Paul, when they sang back and forth together, there was very few people in the music biz like John and Paul when they sang on the top of their game and then when they sang together back and forth and together. Honestly, they were the ones who made harmonies in music what it is today.
What about his harmonies with Yoko Ono?
Yeah, interesting experiments with sound and the soundscape. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what John Lennon's life would have been like had Yoko Ono just never existed as a person. It's just she doesn't exist in this universe. What an odd pairing. I will never understand it. I'm sure historians will understand it better than us, but I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't understand either.
Yeah, John Lennon, obviously one of the biggest stars of the world of all time. Horrible, tragic. Look, say what you want about John. He should not have been shot. What a stupid murder. It would have been interesting to see his life continue the way Paul's has. So it's too bad. It's just because George died of cancer. At least he got to live a little bit longer, but cancer took George. But you still have Ringo and Paul. But it's just too bad because I suspect there might have been some sort of, if John wasn't murdered, there'd be some sort of John Paul duo, something somewhere over the years. There would have been something. Ringo and Paul played together. I don't think they hated each other. They were young at the time. I'm sure they would have reconciled to some degree.
And let's be honest, drugs don't help.
No, and that's what I mean. They did it at that time, but let's just say, yeah, that's right. They would have sobered up, I would have guessed. Like Paul has sobered up. Yeah, they were young, and it's too bad. Obviously, a huge icon. Okay, Jade, the next one, another icon of our youth.
Yeah, okay. Despite critiques of mumbling singing, Eddie Vedder's impact on 90s rock is undeniable. The frontman of Pearl Jam, Vedder's unique vocal style remains unmatched. And it is unmatched.
Yeah, I know. Nobody else sings that.
His vocal abilities, even to this day, and
sorry,
is impressive. Now, I have a distinct memory. I was painting my bedroom, and I was walking back into my bedroom with a can of paint, and I was listening to the first album, 10, and it was playing in my bedroom, and I'm walking towards the bedroom with that music in the background. Can't recall the song at the time, but I was listening to that album, and I said to myself, this band is going to be around for a long time.
Oh, wow.
This is before they had a second album. This is still their first album. I still distinctly remember this thought. This band is going to be around for a long time. And they still are around.
They still are. Yeah, it's and they've turned into a legacy act as well, which is a compliment, meaning like they've established themselves. They just tour. People show up. They put on a good show, and there's no shame in that. You know?
And it's where they tour, they sell out.
Yeah, they're like they're like a modern day
big Grateful Dead.
Grateful Dead, because Grateful Dead didn't really make money or huge record sales, and Pearl Jam doesn't do that anymore either. But they just keep touring, and people just keep showing up. And they keep touring, and people,
And Eddie Vedder vocals are very good. These many years later, with the style that he sang with, it's not like there's a big drop off or anything. So you would think it'd be hard to do what he does. I'm not saying that it isn't, but what I'm saying is that to continue that. But he does amazingly well. Can I share a small insight experience that I had with him? As some may know, that I worked a lot of concerts, and I did a Pearl Jam concert. I was doing sound check before the show had started. There was sound check. And the opening act, I can't remember who the opening act was. They were doing their sound check, kind of warming up for their set. And this is before Pearl Jam did their sound check. And Eddie Vedder came out and was standing center right in front of the stage, listening and rocking out to the opening act, and was clapping after every one of the songs. That may be about 3 songs that they just ran through. Eddie Vedder was standing there watching center stage the opening set and was clapping and was appreciative of this band. And I was just a fly on the wall seeing this. And I was like, what a cool guy. What a nice guy.
He's
showing that type of love and respect for these people. I can't remember who it was. That's how big they are. I don't even know who they were.
Sure. But we often say you don't remember what someone said to you, just remember how they made you feel. It's a situation. You don't necessarily remember the songs of the band, but you remember how that experience made you feel about Eddie. Yeah, look, I've enjoyed Pearl Jam. I'm so glad I got to see them live. I hope to see them again one day. I've been a fan since their first album, and I will say Versus is probably one of the greatest albums of all time. Every band has an album where, boy, everything just hit the mark, and Versus is that's a good album. That is such a good album.
And can I just say that their guitars shine brighter live than they do.
Yeah, they're underrated and weird.
I don't understand how that was missed on albums and not really talked enough. Their guitar work live is so much better than what is experienced on the albums. Just as a side note,
they are a live band. I think people that know that, they're live. They're a live band for sure. Okay. Oh, speaking of Soundgarden, Matt Cameron jumped ship better from Soundgarden to Pearl Jam. It's always odd. I always found that odd. And he's been with the band forever now, 20 odd years now. But I remember when he made that jump, I was like, oh, that's weird. But
and for whatever reason, they had a rotating cast of drummers for the first 3 albums. I believe were different drummers.
And there's still discussions on forums and stuff or whatever, Reddit or YouTube channels about the first drummer, Jack Irons, the first drummer, Dave Cruson, who was on the first album. It's funny. I guess the same way you and I talk about Steven Adler, and people do that with the drummers of Pearl Jam. There's those type of fans who just, you should have kept so-and-so. Yeah, it's weird, eh?
I think they just feel bad for him. A missed opportunity in his life, and you're like, you have empathy that the band went on to be massive, and he was left out, but he was a part of that. What started that legacy.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. All right. Next one, Jay, we've got, of course, Steven Tyler. They're having a little trouble now later in their career, of course, with the health issues of Steven, and they've had some concert postponements, and I'm hoping to still see them live in Montreal, and I'm hoping that postponement means I can, because I think they were supposed to come when I'm away. Right now, I'm away on deployment, so that's why maybe my vocal or my mic might sound different. I'm using my cheaper mic, or I'm in an echoey room. But anyways, yes, I've seen them live 3 times already. I was just hoping to see them on their farewell tour here. But Aerosmith formed in 1970. If you can believe it, all 5 members are still alive from the original day when they played in high school. It's crazy, and they're all together. They had a little bit of a mini breakup. They changed a couple of members for one album, but they've been together their whole career. That's just weird. Insane that they're all alive and together. Though I think they have replaced Joey Kramer for this tour. But all that being said, Steven Tyler's powerful and distinct vocals have etched an indelible mark on rock history, from, of course, Dream On to Crazy. His voice is the cornerstone of rock legends. And again, this is another, not only is Steven Tyler an incredible singer, even later in his life, it's not the same as it used to be, but for a long time, though, we're talking, he's 70-something now. So, of course, his vocals won't sound the same as his 30-something-year-old self. However, he's kept it up pretty well throughout his career. And he's another guy about that frontman. He's like the amped up version of Mick Jagger. Mick Jagger is one of his idols. It's no mystery. But he's got the scarves on his microphone, his jumpsuits that go down to his pelvis opened up. And he's an incredible live guy. Gymnastics on the stage, cartwheels, and the way he moves, very athletic and svelte. Yeah, and it's Steven Tyler. He's a character in and of himself.
Yeah, he is. And live, last probably couple tours, they are very thankful for the backup singer that in the background that helps.
Yeah, he's been with the band forever too, that guy. I forget his name.
How did they find this guy that can do backup vocals?
This is where
sounds exactly like
Steven. Yeah, we've talked about this as artists age and get older. How I look at it, and even like an artist, like I heard there's a rumor that David Lee Roth might be touring with Sammy for that Eddie Van Halen tribute tour. But how I look at it is, I know they don't sound the way they did. Oh, they should hang up their gloves. I get it. But what I'm doing is I'm paying tribute to what they've done. Meaning, like, I'm just saying, hey, man, thanks for doing it. Like, maybe you can't. You're 80 years old, or not everyone can be Mick Jagger or Steven Tyler necessarily, or whoever forever. But I'm still going to the show. I'm listening to music, whether it's a bit of a backup vocalist filling in the gaps. I actually don't really care. As I get older, I realize there's just less to get grumpy about. You should just enjoy life.
Oh, I'm not sorry. Right
no, I know you're not. I'm speaking.
No,
not you.
I'm just like, that's amazing.
No, you're not. You're not at all. I didn't take it. I'm just saying. Okay. For our listeners who might people in the comment section of you see these in the comments, like even like I know like Vince Neil, I get it. I know he's a little overweight, he doesn't sing the lyrics, but to me it's just like I don't care. I actually don't care. No, but it's funny. At least he's not lip syncing. You can't say he's lip syncing. He's not singing either, but he's not lip syncing. What I'm saying is, but they still did it on the albums. They still wrote the music of something. They still gave you that music. They gave you that song. And I don't know. I guess I let a lot of sins be forgiven as you get older. And I'm just like, whatever. You get to dance to some music and go home. Just relax, people. I don't know. Okay. All right.
Can I give another anecdotal experience? I'm going to give another experience here. So I worked at an Aerosmith concert.
Yeah.
And funny enough, Motley Crue opened for that one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Steven Tyler had that little stage that came out, and his piano would be on the end of the stage, and he would sing Dream On there. And, of course, walk out, et cetera, et cetera. But before the show started, his security team went around the stadium and would grab very good-looking girls and have them seated all around that stage.
Nice.
Like the catwalk and the end. He did not want to see a bunch of screaming, enthusiastic men. He wanted all the beautiful ladies to be lined and cheering for him right up close. Yeah. So I thought that was like, how rock and roll is this? Yeah. He's gotten his security crew to wander through the stadium, grabbing these beautiful ladies and bringing them all up close and around. So when he goes out on the catwalk, he's got all these screaming girls around him. I thought that was a cool little thing to see, and good for him.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, so we have Paul McCartney, obviously the lead singer from the Beatles. He needs no. Sorry, that's a lead singer. From the band.
Shared lead singer. It would be him and John, yes, of course.
John would be considered the lead singer. So that was my.
Really? Do you think so? I actually thought it was shared duties. I don't know. I guess who sang more lead? Was it John that sang more lead?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I actually thought it was kind of 50-50. Or
we should Google this because I'm
not a Beatles expert, but I'd be curious.
No, either am I. I think I'm going to Google that right now.
Sure, you can quickly Google. I thought it was legit kind of 50-50. I think most of their albums was split and they would harmonize with each other quite a bit, like obviously, but they would share verses too on songs. I think it was 50-50. It was kind of the problem with the band was that you had two frontmen, right?
So John Lennon sang lead on 109 Beatle songs.
Okay.
Paul, 98.
I think. See, I told you it's 50-50.
Yeah, but here's where it gets tricky. Lennon dominated the early Beatle albums. Oh. McCartney sang more leads in the band's later recordings. The rest is George Harrison took lead on 39, Ringo on 14.
They gave Ringo that many?
Hey, he's pretty active still. He's still.
I know. I love it. I love Ringo Starr is fun. Okay,
probably should have given George more.
Yeah, his solo album. I don't know if you ever heard his solo album. Really quite good. All Things Must Pass. I believe that's what's called, something like that. And obviously, yeah, everyone always loves George.
At the end of the day, he's probably my favorite Beatle. He just seemed.
He's a lot of people's favorites. He was chill, musically talented. Yeah. Okay, so Paul McCartney.
He sang, but his post Beatles career is. Mm-hmm. Not arguably bigger, but obviously him being around and still touring it's just longer. Yeah, exactly. And he didn't just
much
rest
more than
on
John has.
Yeah.
Too soon?
John packed it in.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. His career's dead. for sure.
But how much of I'm not really like you. I never really grasped the excitement of the Beatles, hence our lack of knowledge, and or Paul on his solo career. I never gravitated towards him or them. How do you feel?
I've listened to I've listened to the album Ram that he did. It's an amazing album. Honestly, I would recommend you give it a listen.
Okay, and is that Ram, the most recent one?
No, I think it was one of his first solo albums after the Beatles.
Okay.
I think it might have been before Wings. I think, but Paul legit is. I used to go, I'm a John guy or whatever, and I used to. But over the years, I've leaned towards Paul. I think he's a cool cat. I think he's obviously very talented, and his stardom and his success as a solo artist is legit. Like, he went beyond the Beatles as a solo artist in many ways. I think his music writing and songwriting is better than the Beatles writing in many ways as a solo artist. He's one of those artists that just got better as a solo artist. And yeah, still doing it now, about 80 years old, and plays 3.5-hour shows. The guy's insane. So good for him.
Yeah.
We still have to do that episode, that conspiracy theory episode. One day we'll still do it on which Paul McCartney are we talking about here?
Yeah. I'm talking about the Paul McCartney version 2.0.
2? Yeah. I don't know, man. There's some fun discussion points on that.
Yeah, it's got me thinking every time I see Paul McCartney. Regardless, this Paul McCartney has done well for himself.
Yes. All right. The next singer on our list. Okay, and remember, folks, this is not an order of greatest to least. This is just randomized order here. Okay, we got another old passed on star. Paul hasn't passed on, but this star, speaking of John Lennon, but this star has passed to the great beyond. That's David Bowie. Now, David Bowie, Jay, was a really cool cat. His ever-evolving style and sonic influences, David Bowie's vocal journey traversed the rich landscape of his storied career. His voice is unmistakable, a fact solidified by his ability to hold his own alongside Freddie Mercury in the song Under Pressure, for example. David Bowie's another artist that Johnny come lately. I've gone on YouTube and watched his performances and his songs and him as an artist and the provocateur, and another guy is just a cool cucumber. I get the appeal. He was just cool on screen or behind the mic, in front of the mic. Seemed like a nice guy, a genuine guy. His band that played behind him was really cool. Like, his live performances were cool, and his voice was unique.
Yeah, unique voice. And to top it off, is for me, it's his persona.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's another.
Like it's so different. Approach to, it's not just about the music, it's about his artistic presentation and the visual interpretation of his music and how those two things collide together. Very few have done it the way that he's done that. You probably have you seen some of his very early interviews?
No, I don't think I've seen the early interviews.
Check out some of his in his drug days. Holy, he
did drugs.
He was out there.
That's funny.
Oh yeah, it's fascinating. And it's
lived a long life, but he wasn't like young, but he wasn't old. Was he 70 something at the passing? Maybe
he was too young.
He was still too young. I think
we'll be. Let's just. I think
I'm saying 71. Was it 71?
I don't even think it's that old.
He died almost 8 years ago, January 10th, 2016. It was 8 years ago.
Yeah, and it was of cancer, I believe.
I think so. And he knew about it.
Yeah. And I don't think he really talked about
69. He was 69. That was close. Yeah. 69. Ooh, that is.
Yeah, it is. I didn't think he made it into the 70s. Yeah, so.
Speaking of death there, folks, we're getting pretty close, Jason, to our yearly, the greatest episode we ever do on the show. Our most popular episode is the worst of the best celebrity deaths of the year. It's coming up. This has been a big year, by the way. This has been an incredible year. I can't wait. And I'm really on this list, I am going to pare it down to the names of people that, if I say the name to exactly who they are, type names. Okay, this is somebody we know. For Matthew Perry, for example, needs no introduction type names. So it's because it's going to be a big list, and we won't go over to it now. But there's names. Oh yeah, that was this year type names. It's a fun list. A lot of great deaths this year. Okay, I remember that because David Bowie. This is how long we've been doing this. He was on that list. We've been doing this death list on our. Yeah, I think this might be the 8th or 9th annual. I kid you not, of The Worst of the Best Death. 8th or 9th
Wow.
annual. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you. And thanks for being here for them. Yeah. My goal is I want to be on the list one year.
You live long enough, you will be.
That's right. Okay. Oh, so yeah, that's David Bowie, very cool guy. His recording with Freddie on Under Pressure, which is one of the best rock songs ever created, quite frankly. Freddie didn't get along.
No, that was not a happy. I think it was just competitive, and I'm not sure if they were like. It was like this peanut butter and chocolate combination, which.
But I'm surprised they didn't get along. It's odd. It's just odd they didn't get along.
But together, it was an amazing creation.
They never performed together.
Yeah, I know.
After that studio.
They never performed that together?
No. And when they played it live as band Queen, the drummer sang David Bowie's parts. And have you seen that live performance?
Yes. Yeah.
He's amazing.
Yes.
He kills the vocals, the drummer. I forget his name. I apologize. It's off my head. If I saw it in a lineup, I could pick it out. But yeah, he sings the vocals for David. The guy kills it, man. And nothing against David, but the drummer of Queen. They're all very talented vocalists in that band. But yeah, the drummers are very cool cat singing the background. It's really cool to watch. Okay. And the next one, Jay, big singer here.
Yeah. So Steve Perry, the voice of Journey. As a frontman of Journey, Steve Perry left an indelible mark with some of rock music's most iconic performances, such as Open Arms and the Don't Stop Believin', stand as a test of Perry's vocal prowess during the band's golden era. He is a phenomenal singer.
It's insane. It's actually insane in his prime.
It is insane. And to see those things live, for me, it's always live. Can you do this live? How is it live? And to watch him perform live. And the band themselves is fantastic to go along with him. And he worked amazingly well in that period of time. I feel bad that other guys doing his music as they continue to tour.
Yeah, the Filipino kid. It's funny.
Yeah.
I can say Filipino kid. He's 52 or 3 now, if you can believe it.
Is he really? Yeah.
So, yeah, good for them. They're not the first band to have a new singer. It's just the way bands go for whatever reasons, through death or bands disbanding the music continues, because as much as we love the lead singer of a band to stay the same, like the power of the lead vocal is a big drawing point for when you listen to music. But you have to give credit, and we should give credit to the people who create the music, who write the music, like the guys in the band, the guitarists who writes the songs. I think that's the situation for Journey. I think a lot of the band members write the music, not Steve Perry. I could be wrong. But that being said, incredible vocalists. We had the Journey's greatest hits when we were young teens.
Yeah.
That was our introduction. We had, like a lot of these older bands when we were younger, we just had their greatest hits, which is legit. The Doors, we had their greatest hits, the Journey's greatest hits, Queen's greatest hits. And that's how we got into these bands. But I listened to that Journey tape over and over again. Yeah. Every song. Wheel in the Sky. I love that song. I love that chorus. And it's just Yeah, I listened to Journey before I even knew. Just as a band, I didn't know their names in the band. I didn't know who Steve Perry was. So I couldn't pick him out in the lineup. But boy, we had that greatest hits cassette, and I listened to it endlessly. All right, Jay. Kurt Cobain, the man who killed hair metal for me and you, as they say, grunge killed rock and roll. I love how they always talk about how grunge killed rock and roll. Maybe soundscapes change, musical tastes change, but the irony is bands like Motley Crue and Def Leppard and Kiss and Aerosmith or what do you want? They're still touring or ending their life careers after all these Rolling Stones. Even these rock and roll bands are continuing where you don't really hear about. Where's the Soundgardens and the Nirvana?
Here's the irony: Foo Fighters with David Grohl as lead vocals are more rock and roll than anything. And the fact that Dave Grohl did not do grunge.
Yeah, what does that tell you?
Air quotes grunge after he left Nirvana. And maybe he wanted, I'm not going to do grunge.
Sure.
It doesn't really stand the test of time. Okay.
Dave Grohl's a rock and roll fan. And maybe Nirvana would say, or Kurt would say, look, we didn't call ourselves grunge. That was a label thrown on us.
No, that is a label. And that's unfortunate. Actually, it is unfortunate. I think that there was like this label.
It's weird. Because look at Alice in Chains. There's a band that they were considered grunge, but they were like heavy metal. Have you heard their songs?
Alice in Chains. Yeah, Alice in Chains every day, all day over Nirvana for me. Talking about vocalists, Lane Stanley.
I don't think he's on the list, quite frankly. And I think part of the reason why he's not on the list is not because of his vocal ability. This list was curated. We went to all the kind of top.
Yeah.
So I think Kurt Cobain was put there probably over Lane Staley because of popularity. Even Alice in Chains just isn't as popular as Nirvana. As much as we love Alice in Chains, they're a tier below Nirvana as far as sales go and things like that. However, Lane Staley is a better singer than Kurt Cobain, absolutely. However, it was Nirvana's Nevermind and Kurt Cobain singing that album that really catapulted the Seattle scene. It was that band that did it at that time. There's just no argument whether you like the album or not. In fact, we did a mini episode on one of our shows where we broke down Nevermind. Remember doing that?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
you? Wasn't it before YouTube?
Yes, it was just before our YouTube Back Tune Baby review. And I'll tell you what, when I was listening to that Nevermind, I'll just do another quick synopsis. I was so bored of that album. I was shocked at how boring that album is. That's the only word I can use to describe my experience. Listening to that album, however many years later, I surprised myself how much I did not like that album. It's just a snooze fest. It brought up no emotions from when I was a youth. I didn't feel charged up, and I didn't have this nostalgic experience or anything. I was just like, this isn't good.
Yeah, that's what we mentioned. The reason why Kurt made the list, despite Jason and I talking We Are the Way about Kurt, is because Kurt had that voice that defined the sounds of the 90s grunge. And whether we agree or not, it received acclaim. He just had the raw vocal that it was unique. It was different. You and I were listening to AC/DC and Guns N' Roses, Metallica, and all those bands. So when Kurt came back, get away, it was different. It was unique.
It was different. Yep.
Yeah. I also just want to say really quickly, I actually pulled up an old headline here about when Nevermind came out. It said here that this album will blow your face off. Oh, sorry, that was his suicide headline. I'm sorry.
Oh, jeez.
What did you want to say about Kurt before we move on?
I understand because I lived it. I understand
we were there,
the musical.
It was anti-establishment. This is good old anti-establishment again.
The upheaval in the music industry. They threw a wrench into the way that the structure of the corporate versions of rock and the way that was. And I don't take any of that away. I understand the impact that that album and that time period had. I just don't look back at it as something that sustains me in any real meaningful way. And when we revisited that album, I didn't think I was going to get a lot of enjoyment out of it. I personally was just surprised actually how bored I was from listening to it. And I don't mean that to be deathly negative about it, but at the same time, it just...
controversial figure in the music industry because, of course, our hearts, our hearts are with the hard rock and music, and that was what we were raised on. And
but did you feel like it was a competition? I didn't feel like it was a competition, and I don't know why. I do know why.
It was created by. Yeah, because you shouldn't enjoy Poison because they're wearing their hair up a little bit or whatever, playing party anthems. It's like you can enjoy both, but yeah, you got the next one.
Yeah. So Debbie Harry, right? We got some punk roots and then her angelic vibes in Blondie. With influences from her punk roots, Debbie Harry infused an almost angelic quality into Blondie's biggest tracks, including the iconic Call Me and Heart of Glass. Her ability to rock out while maintaining a celestial quality is truly unique. I just remember many times in the car listening to Blondie. What was her biggest single?
Heart of Glass. It was Heart of Glass.
Yeah, the Heart of Glass. Hearing that in that time period, I could still visualize in my mind listening to her singing that song. Now, do I have a lot of recollections or do I know a ton about her?
No.
But her influence and impact in the musical industry is...
Especially female artists, of course. She was a pioneer for the female rock and roll females.
Yes.
Because they were an older band when we were younger. That's the thing, too. So it's like when you and I started listening again to rock and roll, and I admit, we were boys, young kids, young teenagers. We're listening to male-centric singers. But she was obviously very popular amongst male and female fans. But just an earlier band, they were like early 80s. So we were just young when they were at their height of their career. But yeah, she was attractive, front lady for rock and roll. Have you ever seen Miley Cyrus cover her Heart of Glass? It's quite.
Oh no, I don't think I
It's
have.
amazing. Miley's an amazing artist. I don't know if you've seen any of her live
Oh
stuff.
yes, yeah.
It looks amazing on stage, and she can sing.
She can do anything.
That's just it. Yeah. She's pretty cool. Really cool girl. I like her a lot. But I would recommend check out her Heart of Glass live performance. Just YouTube that at your own leisure, of course. You'll be, of course, amazed at her live performance. She did a couple years ago. She kills it. It's amazing. Yeah.
So I guess when Blondie was founded, I guess is the word.
Well, they're early. I think
they're very early. 74.
Yeah. So they were around when Heart was around, that early time there. That's cool. Heart and Blondie were big female-led artists. In fact, if we're talking about another female-led group right now, one that you're probably familiar with, and of course, that's Chrissie Hynde from The Pretenders. The Pretenders was fronted by Chrissie Hynde's voice, impressively navigates the spectrum of emotions from hurt and rage to longing. Her vocals contribute to emotional depth of hits and have stood the test of time. The Pretenders, they were currently touring with the Guns N' Roses as an opening act, if you recall.
Yeah, and she sang along with Axl on one of their songs. I'm trying to remember what song she...
Very cool band, very cool sound, very unique sound. But she reminds me of a female Tom Petty in many ways.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good comparison.
Yeah, like it's literally, they almost have the same mouth too. It's funny. But and I'm actually watching, it's funny, I'm watching right now, there's a site called archive.org or not org. It's archive.org. It's a place where people can store, it's called the Internet Archive. You can store a whole bunch of stuff on there that basically doesn't get blocked, or it's like a pirating site, but it's not. I don't know how to explain it. But anyways, I'm going through Saturday Night Live original, somebody uploaded every single Saturday Night Live episode ever. So you can watch it in order. So but I didn't want to start with the early seasons, as much as interesting as they are. I want to start when we started watching in '86 with Dana Carvey and Phil Hartman, and so I just literally been starting in 1986 watching. It's incredible to see these old skits and with the characters that we knew. I say all this because the musical acts are on every episode too. It's been cool to watch these old school musical acts perform, and so the Pretenders were on one of the episodes in the '86, '87 season 12, and it's just cool to see them sing and perform. I was listening to Chrissie Hynde sing and watching the band perform. But man, we were so spoiled back then. We didn't know just how good the music was. And of course, we were 12, 13 when this came out. And we would have been, again, to our hard rock and stuff. We probably would have seen the Pretenders at that age scoff at it. But now when I listen to it as an adult and understand music and composition and performance, I'm like, holy crap, this is good music. And it's just up for another week on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, so music was written. It was written and created by the people who are performing the songs. And not much of that is happening nowadays. You might have a singer. You might have if we're just talking about hip hop or modern, I don't even know what you call it anymore. Pop, I get pop.
Right.
They're figureheads. Mm-hmm. They're characters. But many of these people are not really creatively putting together their own music from beginning to end, from a scratch pad to an idea that they have on a 4-track or at their own home. And they're just riffing on ideas that have been percolating for 5, 6, 7 years. Like you hear some of these albums. Say, I just heard the Killers are coming out with the greatest hits of sorts. And then they're on their Instagram, they'll have a small snippet of a song that they're having on their greatest hits. They're like, oh, I had this intro to blah, blah, blah song, and it was kicked around for 5, 6, 7 years. And then that many years later, the gestation period. And it doesn't feel like that authenticity and that struggle to create a song is as prevalent as it used to be. And I think that's where the magic is missing. And not that the songs aren't enjoyable, but I think some of the magic has been lost. And so when you look at these live performances, the Pretenders, from the opening note to the closing, that is 98% them, from their hearts and their mind and their souls and their background and their experiences all coming together.
Right.
And a couple of the percent will be a producer with an idea to help blend it or put it together.
That's the job of the producers, make it sound as the best as possible. Yeah.
But I suspect most of these people on this list, their musical journeys are very real to them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think there's nobody on this list that was produced by somebody else. This is their personal voice, so to speak. Yeah. Speaking of which, Jay, I made sure you got this one. I made sure you got this one on the list.
Did you, though?
I did. I made sure that you got evens and I got odds. Seriously,
okay.
I made sure. That's Who do we got next, Jay? Remember, this is not order of our fandom.
It's not an order. No. Yeah. Because if it was, this would have been number one. Of course, Axl Rose. The power of Axl Rose. Yes, people talk about his struggles today. He's 61. And when he was back in the day, 87 through, he probably wasn't thinking, hey, when I'm 61 and on tour, I might not want to be singing these songs when I'm 22, 23 years old, the way that I am.
Yeah, I know.
Because I'm going to want my voice.
He was he's just a kid, really.
and he had a fire, and he had the anger, and he had the aggression, and he put it all out there. Now, not just on the albums, but live. And that's where he probably he didn't hurt his vocals in the studio. They would be the years and years and years of touring. But he really needs no introduction. We all know him from Sweet Child of Mine, to Patience, to Paradise City, to Welcome to the Jungle, November Rain, Estranged.
Now my kids are listening to him. My 12-year-old son, soon to be 12-year-old son, Jackson, saw him live for the first time. Jay, it's one of the best memories of my life taking Jackson to the concert. He was just loved every moment of every song. He was singing the old, the new, is all the same to him. He knows I'm telling you, he knows every GNR song. And it was just so sweet to see his excitement to see this band. Before really, quite frankly, of course, too late. So it's in his memory banks. He's seen Guns N' Roses. He wears the Guns N' Roses shirt like every day almost. It's always got it on. Yeah.
Me and you saw them for our first time, and we saw them together for the first time, 91 at the Tacoma Dome in Washington. And what a road trip that was, eh?
Yeah. It's scary. That's right. I know.
We can't really get into a whole episode about that first concert.
I think we mentioned it. Check out our Guns N' Roses Appetite for Destruction episode if you're interested in GNR. And we did a whole episode dedicated to that album. I think we shared our concert experience in that.
Yeah, sleeping after the show on the sidewalk behind the mall.
Yeah. Getting chased by skinheads in a car.
And how old were...
I was 16, 15, 16, so you were 17, 18.
Yeah, that's a great memory. Fast forward to however many years later, and I have taken my children to Guns N' Roses several times.
Yeah.
Just saw them again. Same tour that you saw them, but in Vancouver.
Caleb's gone twice. Caleb's gone twice now, and Jackson's gone once. So
I think Ethan has seen them now 8 times.
Oh, nice. Cool.
As far as a vocal performer, there probably isn't many that can do the things that he's been able to do. And what's great for me as a fan, I can speak of this, but as maybe even a lot of people who are casual fans or are familiar with the band, his voice isn't just one voice throughout every album. His ability to create different emotions and different, like you say, layers. And depending on the subject matter, it can be really raw or very soft. Like he has this ability it's like a voice actor, right? And an audible book where they can change their voice depending on the content of the story. And for me, that's what I hear him do. It's not just a one voice does it all. He changes based on the context of the song. And it's like putting exclamation marks, extra exclamation marks in certain areas, extra sadness in other songs, in other areas. Every song is somewhat different. It's not the same voice all the time. Chances are he will not be on my worst pick, but let's stay tuned.
Speaking of Axl Rose, one of his influences is next on our list. That's Roger Daltrey of The Who. Though he's often underrated, he does stand out as a vocal genius among rock's greats, especially in those early days. Listening to tracks like Baba O'Reilly or Pinball Wizard is undeniable proof of Daltrey's commanding presence. The Who is another great band that I've, again, as I've gotten older, my YouTube journeys online and watching old performances and albums. Yeah, The Who, incredible band, a great rock band, influenced a lot of the artists that we listen to today because of The Who, and Axl's one of them.
My early experiences with the Who and Roger specifically as a singer was back when we would go to our Aunt Tessa's house.
Oh,
And
is she a Who fan?
But her son, Darren, our cousin Darren, he was a Who fan. Yeah.
Oh,
and so that's where, So that's where I got my first true introductions to the Who. I remember him listening to the Who. And so it rubbed off on me. And that's my experience with them and where I started to appreciate the music and got different experiences with them as a band.
Cool. Yeah, they're a great band. Very cool. Pete Townsend, did he get in trouble with something? Was that him?
I thought he was getting in trouble with child pornography.
But apparently he was doing research or something. Or
yeah, I'm researching.
That's what he said. That's what he said.
Of course, that's what he said. What else is he going to say?
That's what I'm going to tell my wife. Hey, I was just researching these Instagram models. I'm just trying to figure out what the stink is about. Why is there out? Why are they
what's all
so
this
many
fuss
views,
about?
Honey? Yeah, I don't get it. I'm just trying to. What could it be? What do you got here for number 18?
Bruce Springsteen. What a legend, eh?
It's insane. This guy doesn't.
It is
stop.
insane. He's like his vocals are a little rough around the edges, but it's infused distinctly working with the working class vibe. That's his audience. That's what he connects with. And then of course his singing connected with the storytelling.
Yeah, it's a storytelling for sure.
And that's what makes, in my mind, his music so great. Is it really his singing, or is it's the combination of the singing associated with the storytelling?
It's that he's got that anger's not the right word, but it's just that kind of that grit and that passion. And we're gonna get through this together, guys. We're gonna get through this type thing.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm a huge Bruce fan. I've seen him live once. I am going to see him again. I got tickets. I had tickets for November 23 here in Ottawa. The show got canceled due to his health. It wasn't his vocals or anything like that, thank goodness. But it was like I would say ulcers the right, but he gets surgery on his stomach. It was legit.
Yeah,
like he had to get surgery. And so my tickets are now still valid for November 2024. So I'm going to see him just a year later. But November 2024, I'll be seeing him live. The tickets weren't cheap, if I remember correctly. They were not horribly expensive, but they were like $350 or something. And I'm behind the stage, but whatever. I don't care.
Wow.
I'll be there. Yeah. I'm behind this. It says I'm there behind the stage. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Have you seen him already though?
Yeah. I saw the Rising Tour in 2002, I guess, 2002, the Rising Tour. And I went with mom and dad.
I worked that show.
That's what you were there then. I think I remember that. Yeah. So yeah, it was
I just want to make sure.
Mom and dad went to that, and you must have been, you were working the show at Vancouver. Yeah. That was a great show, of course. 20 years ago already. Whew. Man. So I'm a big Bruce fan. I really am a huge Bruce fan.
Oh yeah.
I have all his albums, listened to all of his stuff. I watched his Broadway show on Netflix, and in that Broadway show, he laughs, he says, to his own credit, he is a storyteller. Mm-hmm. He says he's never worked a blue collar job in his life.
Right.
But that's what makes him a great storyteller.
He's creative.
Yeah.
He's an entertainer.
He's tapped that industry. That's his audience. Yeah. He knew the audience. Yeah. He tapped it. And he's
what an energy.
Yeah, sorry.
And the energy live.
It's insane. Yeah. Who said it? I think Bruce said it in an interview. I think it was Bruce who said, what artist was it? My goodness. Maybe it wasn't Bruce, but they're talking about Bruce. Somebody was saying about Bruce. They were jokingly mad at Bruce for playing 3-hour shows because this guy was younger than Bruce. He's like, oh my gosh, Bruce, you're making us look bad because he's the older guy and I'm like 20 years younger than him. Let's say this artist, he's making us look bad because this guy plays 3-hour shows and he's 72 or 3 or 4 or whatever it is. But then I think Bruce then said, I can't help it because Paul McCartney's doing 3-hour plus shows. I can't stop. So it's that weird. So Bruce then blamed Paul McCartney for his long shows. Anyways,
I want to get back
to about your concert.
Yeah, Bruce. I was working that show and I was asked to come in early to do the sound check. And there's very few people in the building 3 hours before the show. And they're doing sound check. And speaking of The Rising, they started the sound check with The Rising. And you could feel in the stadium just this amazing, chills. And everybody that was working the venue, they might be at the t-shirt or they're setting up the hot dog stands or what, just milling around, stopped and came out from wherever they were and went around the concourse looking the second layer concourse and looking down towards the stage. And we're watching this icon do the sound check of the song, The Rising. It is one of the most powerful moments of any show or any performance that I've ever seen. Complete magic. Yeah. I'm getting chills just even remembering about it and talking about it.
Yeah, I get you, man. That's the power of Bruce. He's amazing. That's why people go over and over. That people have seen this guy. There's been fans of his for 40, 50 years who've seen him numerous times. There's a reason, because it's a religious experience when he yells out, "Is it out there?" It's a revival for sure in people's souls. All right, Jack, with the last one. Probably on this list, one of the ones I'm the least familiar with in the sense of her catalog, but certainly not her popularity or her influence or her legendary status. Of course, that is Janis Joplin. She was a league of her own. Janis Joplin's characteristic rasp, coupled with her blues influence and emotive singing, gave rise to some of the most iconic rock hits of the 70s. Again, I've done this as well with Janis and a lot of these old artists back in the 60s and 70s, going back and looking at these YouTube clips of these live raw performances. Yes. Like, oh my gosh, her energy.
She's amazing.
It's another sad loss in her early age. My goodness, it's terrible. However, it's amazing raw talent, and the way she just does that kind of, again, talk about a gospel revival type singing, and she's shaking and she's fantastic. What's your thoughts on her?
I absolutely love Janis Joplin. Will I put a CD of her CD here? How old am I? What year are we? CD. I put her music on, not necessarily, but when I do come across her music, especially live, it is so good. Her power is strong, and you're rooting for her all the time. And maybe it's because we feel sad that she's not here, and so you're cheering on this person that's giving her all. I think it was 27. She died at 27. Jimi Hendrix, like the 27.
There's supposed to be a biofilm on her with.
There is one.
Oh, I thought there was supposed to be. Was there one?
I think so.
Oh,
I can visualize the movie poster.
Renee Zellweger, was that her? I thought she was supposed to do it. And then, am I just like having a Mandela effect? I'm just going to look it up real quick here.
Yeah. I can see the movie poster in my mind.
I don't think there. I just put in Janis Joplin film. I don't see one on her. I don't think they've done a true biopic on her. Isn't that funny? I know they announced it with Renee Zellweger was supposed to play it. Anyways, that's too bad, because I don't. My quick Google search here, I don't see an actual Janis Joplin true biopic film on her. I don't see it. I'm gonna put Renee Zellweger.
She probably didn't look at like.
But it was a long time ago. It says here, Variety reports that the actress Sunda Lenz, the sequel to Bridget Jones, portrayed the late rock singer in the film called "Piece of My Heart," which should begin filming in early 2004, so 20 years ago.
But it never happened?
I don't think it ever happened. Oh, then it went to Pink. It was supposed to go to Pink.
Oh.
And then that never got made. And that was as late as 2023, February.
You would have to nail that performance. Pink is not an actor. Pink might be able to pull off the vocals. Joplin singing it would be very difficult to try and pull off. But
I don't know if she can act. You're right. But you never know. Lady Gaga kind of pulls it off. But she's a different person. But yeah, it says here, "The Piece of My Heart" starring Renee Zellweger never got made. So it was announced. I don't know why it didn't get made. So Pink talked about this interview on the Howard Stern show. And then she wanted to do it too. But so someone's got to do this film. So that's our long way of saying, why hasn't this film been made yet?
Part of it is with the biopics pictures that we've had with the Freddie Mercury, the Queen, Elton John, and then you even have the Ray Charles. These are movies that they didn't mess around with.
Right.
You have to nail. If Pink wants to do justice, you have to nail Janis Joplin. You can't screw that up.
No, you have to nail it.
The way that they do these biopics now, Yeah, he even did that Elvis.
Biopics or biopics?
I don't know. Well,
I think it's biopic.
These biopics. It's my short form way of saying.
It might be that. I could be saying.
Isn't it spelled the same way? Biopic.
It's spelled. It's just enunciated. I'm not sure. Anyway, sorry.
I'm probably doing it wrong. Don't worry about it. Okay, so the last on our list, number 20.
Here we go.
And this person definitely needs no introduction. We all know and love Ozzy Osbourne.
How can you not love Ozzy? How is he still alive? How?
I know, it's amazing. How? Taking 120 pills a day keeps him going.
Yeah, that's what he said. What did he say? He took drugs for fun. Now he takes drugs to stay alive or something like that.
So he might not be like everybody's favorite rock singer, but his voice is undeniably unique. And as the frontman of Black Sabbath, his legendary performances are like unmatched. We all know his history of live performances. And what's funny is Black Sabbath was before my time. I knew him as when he left the solo artist, and people go, "Oh, he's from Black Sabbath," but it's Ozzy Osbourne, and I didn't really catch Black Sabbath.
Yeah, we were listening to Crazy Train, Bark of the Moon, Mr. Crowley, and of course, No More Tears was an incredible album.
Yeah, so I know him more of that.
Yeah.
Now, my youngest son, Ethan, started listening to Black Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew Black Sabbath. Like, we went to Did you go to Black Sabbath with me?
Yeah, well, I became a Black Sabbath fan later too, but I became a fan because of that 2000 Black Sabbath reunion tour, which we saw all the original members, which is pretty cool. You see
that is very cool.
Bill Ward on drums too. We actually saw the original lineup, yeah.
And that was a Ozfest. And we saw
it was Ozfest, but Black Sabbath.
Yeah, but Black Sabbath it's called Ozfest, and Black Sabbath with the full band was doing their concert. But I was reintroduced to Black Sabbath and then Ozzy Osbourne when my son really got into them, and I was like listening to it in the background. I'm like, I gotta delve into Black Sabbath. I'll tell you what. It's unfortunate that his antics got the best of what we think of when we think of Ozzy Osbourne.
Sure.
His singing in Black Sabbath, combined with the lyricisms, I think most of it was Bill Ward, the drummer, is phenomenal. It really is it's timeless. The music that they made is timeless and is much better than the antics and the reputation that we seem to have of Ozzy Osbourne is. And then you see some of these older performances of Ozzy Osbourne when he is with Black Sabbath. It is great singing and great performances. And he's toured as long as he has been able to physically. Right. And he wanted to go back out again, but boy, is he in rough shape now, though. He's definitely...
he's old. He's old.
Just old.
He's not... He's like his mid-70s at least. And in his body, it's just been through so much. He's got surgeries, back surgeries. Yeah,
yes. Yeah, the back...
he's our dad's age, so if you think about it. The guy has just been through the ringer, so... Give him credit. He has nothing left to prove. I heard him on an interview recently, and he did say, or Sharon actually says, speaking for him, he's not officially retired, but it's pretty obvious that he may never perform again. But Sharon said to the effect of Ozzy has maybe one more show left in him, just one more farewell. Not a tour per se, but some sort of,
Well, he performed just a little while ago. I think it was some sporting event. And unfortunate that you could see him, he was propped up with this like waist high thing that he was leaning into. It was hidden by a big long black leather jacket, and he looked fantastic and sounded great.
That's right. There was
what was that?
What was that? It was just, was it a football maybe? No. Oh yeah.
Was it? Yeah. Anyway, maybe a year ago, within the last year, he did come out with an album recently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was well received, reviewed.
Yeah, very well. Yeah, so it's great. Great, like I think Chad Smith is on it. Duff McKagan's on it. I know there's
a lot of huge.
Yeah, some bigger. I forget the other guitars.
And they're all going on it because he ain't going to be around forever. So a lot of these artists I'll come on. Yeah, it's like a thanks for all your Okay, Jay, this is a supersized episode. I'm going to have to label this episode when I release it as a parentheses supersized episode. Yeah, that's great. But this is fun. For the record, yes, we did this in 2 sittings, just so people see the editing on YouTube or feel like they notice the cut midway through. But yeah, we did this in 2 sittings. We wanted to give this a proper discussion. I didn't want to rush it. So we did about halfway through, and then we said, let's take a break and do part 2 later. So big episode. It will be released as a supersized episode because we did miss a week or a bit because of that. So this will cover that for a couple weeks worth of listening and entertainment. So with that being said, because this is such a big episode, I think we should maybe have 2 picks, Jay. I think that we should do 2 picks. So again, we're going to pick what we think is the worst and our reasons why of this 20 of lists. I'll go over the list really quickly again. And remember, just because we say they're the worst doesn't mean they have nothing to offer. It's just out of these top 20 vocal icons and legends in their own right for different reasons. Which one do we think? The way I'm going to look at it, I'm almost going to pick if I had to see them on tour right now or whatever their peak was, whenever they were
sure,
alive.
Yeah. When they were in their prime.
Yeah. Whatever their prime was, whenever you want to pick, which 2 would you be like, I'll pass, but I'll see the other 18. I'll see the other 18, but there's 2 that I have to leave off. So which 2 am I willing not to see in their prime? Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
Does that make okay? So here's the list again. Robert Plant, Freddie Mercury, Stevie Nicks, Ann Wilson, Mick Jagger, Chris Cornell, John Lennon, Eddie Vedder, Steven Tyler, Paul McCartney, David Bowie, Steve Perry, Kurt Cobain, Debbie Harry, Chrissie Hynde, Axl, Roger Daltrey, Bruce Springsteen, Janis Joplin, and Ozzy Osbourne. So I'll go first. So again, in their prime, whether it was the band that they were with or whoever they fronted or solo, I think my first pick, and I feel bad because it's partly because I'm the most least familiar, but even that being said, it was a toss-up between 2 of the females first. But I think if I had to pick, I'd rather see the Pretenders catalog in their prime live as a band. I think their music would be more fun and interesting to listen to. So Debbie Harry's Blondie band or Debbie Harry's a solo artist, either or, because she did some solo work. I think I'd be okay never seeing her in her prime at whatever point. So she would be one that'd be like, oh, fine. I've never seen her now at the age of 48. I would continue living my life never seeing her in her prime at a concert. So that's my first pick. Jay, what's your first pick?
I'm going to have to go with Ann Wilson.
Really? Whoa. Heart?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a big pick. I didn't mean like that. That's a huge pick. That's a very large choice, Jay. I always said the name should have been Heart Attack. So
I didn't really gravitate towards Heart.
Really?
Music.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You surprised me on that one. I like it when you surprise me. Okay. My next pick and the final pick would be, this might surprise people because we slight Kurt Cobain a little bit, but I think at the end of the day, in their prime, I think I might have enjoyed seeing a Nirvana show just for its legendary status and sound and craziness to see a Nirvana show in their prime. I'd have to go with, believe it or not, John Lennon. I think a John Lennon show, and I'm speaking specifically as a solo artist, not really the Beatles. Who wouldn't want to see the Beatles in their prime? It'd be silly to turn that down. But John Lennon as a solo artist, I think I could do without his solo work in general, let alone maybe even at a show. Especially if Yoko Ono showed up, I'd be like, I'd walk out. John Lennon is my second choice, despite his legendary status of being a member of the Beatles and singer-songwriter of the Beatles, and even some of his solo stuff. I think I could go. I could say I'd rather see Paul McCartney live for sure. Jay.
The reason I wouldn't pick John Lennon is I think his prime with the Beatles would
that was my caveat. It would be I can't turn down the Beatles, so this is a tough one. I'm picking him.
Yeah. I think of him more of a Beatle than I do of a
okay, that's fair.
Solar's. But anyway, it's got to be Kurt Cobain for me. Yeah, it's got to be Kurt Cobain.
You wouldn't even be interested in seeing them in their prime. Prime show.
One trick pony.
Oh,
for
fair.
me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
okay.
it's okay. I get it. I get the shtick that you're doing.
I think he'd be my third choice. He'd be my third choice, to be honest with you. It was a toss-up, but I want to maybe throw a little flavor to it. But yeah, I get you. He's right there. Yeah.
It'd be like listening to the album. You're like, okay, I get it, but there's nothing more here for me.
All right. That was fantastic. What a fun episode. Thank you, everyone who made the whole journey with us. Let us know what your choices were if you'd like via email in the comment section where I post these episodes on either Twitter or on our Facebook or whatever. Thanks for listening, and we do appreciate those who do listen. Be sure to rate us on iTunes. That's the biggest platform that most people listen to the show. If you can rate us on other platforms you listen to us on, like Pocket Cast or Spotify, please do. We do appreciate that. The ratings do help us. And if you really want to, send us an email. Let us know what you think of the show and maybe a topic you would like us to cover in the future. Remember, in front of every silver lining, there's a cloud. And today for Ryan, it was John Lennon and Debbie Harry. And for Jason, it was Kurt Cobain
And Wilson.